Hello and welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here today. I'm Neha Serene, your host for the 8th edition of the Innovation for India Awards, the biennial recognition platform of the Marico Innovation Foundation. Now, unlike the previous years where we had a ground event that showcased the top innovations and game changers of the country, this year, as you all know, things are different. This year, a global pandemic has urged us to adapt to a digital showcase. And this year, more than ever, reaffirms the age-old adage, innovate or perish. Now, over the course of the last 17 years, the Marico Innovation Foundation has been celebrating intelligent innovation. Simple, unique solutions that understand people's needs, meet them in an efficient and scalable manner, and provide value to the society at large. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's commence today's proceedings with the opening address brought to you by Mr. Harsh Mariwala, founder of the Marico Innovation Foundation and chairman, Marico Limited.
Good evening and welcome to the 8th edition of Marico Innovation Foundation Awards. This year, we were planning to hold the awards physically on 17th of March at Dome in Bombay. Unfortunately, we had to cancel the award function at the last moment because of COVID. We waited for long and ultimately decided that it's better that we hold this virtually. The bigger advantage of doing it virtually would be to invite more people to attend this function. Normally, because of capacity constraints, the maximum number of attendees in a physical event would be 1,000, but in a virtual event, there would be no restrictions. So I'm happy that today we have a large participation of acceptances, and all I can say is that this award function will be very, very entertaining, very educative, and full of learning. I would request each person who is attending this function to stay on tuned until the end of the function. The last part of the function is a very, very interesting event, which you'll find it very interesting. It is actually Olympic Gold Quest, where you'll see sportsmen participating and talking about what they are doing to drive innovation to win in the Olympics. This is very unlike a normal award function because we take the MIF award functions very, very seriously. We have an independent jury which sits on two occasions and also supported by our knowledge partner. The knowledge partner goes into details of all the claims made by the applicants, and after verifying the claims, the jury decides who will be the final winners. This year, the award winners are very, very good. There are a lot of interesting innovations, and both in business as well as on social side. We started Marico Innovation Foundation in the year 2003. That time, innovation was not on the top of the agenda of CEOs. As on today, if you ask me any CEO, what is going to be on top of your agenda, I'm sure innovation will be featuring on top. Because in a world which is highly competitive, a Me Too kind of business will not succeed. And only innovation can drive growth, can establish a new business. I did that in my early part of my journey. And I saw that whenever we innovated, we saw discontinuous impact on our sales and our profits. And that led me to start this innovation foundation, both in the business side as well as social side. In India, there is a huge need to leverage innovations to solve society's problems, whether it's agriculture, healthcare, education, and so on. So we believe that innovation can play a very, very important role in driving India's growth. Over a period of time, we have taken many initiatives to drive innovations. We started off by doing research on innovative organizations, followed that up with award functions. We hold these functions once in 2 years. And as I said earlier, this is the 8th award function we are holding. We've come out with 2 books. The first book, Making Breakthrough Innovations Happen, has sold 65,000 copies. And the second book, which is Seven Sutras of Innovation, which was launched 2 months back, has already sold 4,000 copies. In addition to all this, we also run what we call acceleration programs, where we help innovative organizations scale up. It's just not innovation which is required for our country. The innovations have to be scaled up, they have to be executed well. And many organizations are not sure how to get that done. So what we do is we actually help these organizations, mentor them, coach them through our own internal people in Marico, through mentors who are externally recruited, may they be ex-CEOs or from consulting organization, and we sit with them and hold their hands for a period of 6 months to 1 year to help them execute their innovations. And we've seen some huge impact on whatever we've done in this area. We've seen organizations increasing their sales 5 times. We've seen organizations cutting down their costs so that the innovations can become far more affordable. And I think all this is playing a big role in driving innovations and making an impact through these execution programs. When COVID happened, our vice chairman of the Marico Innovation Foundation, Mr. Amit Chandra, he came to me and told me that we need innovations in the COVID space, especially in the area of personal protective equipment and respiratory and ventilators, because there will be a shortage of these. We want solutions which are affordable and which are innovative. So we launched a program, what we call COVID to Beat Challenge, by pulling in about 2.5 crores. 1 crore of that was given by Amit Chandra from his own foundation, 1 crore from the Marico Innovation Foundation, and 50 lakhs from my personal side. And within a short period of time, we got 600 entries. Again, independent jury led by Dr. Mashilkar and supported by medical experts, doctors. They met multiple times, again with the help of a knowledge partner who verified the claims, and finally came out with 5 winners. And they have already been given grants. And now what we are doing is we are holding their hands, getting accreditations for them, and helping them scale up through proper execution. So I'm very proud of what we've done in this areas of COVID, which I believe is a very important initiative we've undertaken. And Dr. Mashilkar will talk much more about that in his address, which is going to be following mine. So with that, I would just end by saying that enjoy the evening and wish you all the best.
Thank you, Mr. Mariwala, for sharing this beautiful MIF journey with us and its core objectives. Innovations can truly inspire, impact, and transform the way in which we see the world. And with COVID-19, we can definitely foresee and embrace a whole new wave of innovations. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to now invite Dr. R.A. Mashilkar, Honorary Chairman of the Governing Council, MIF, to share his views with us.
Well, let me extend a very warm welcome to you all. This is a great evening of celebration of the best of innovation in India. Of course, these are unprecedented times and we are meeting virtually, but virtual meetings has become a norm now, I suppose. Harsh, in his own inimitable way, has described the tremendous journey that Marico Innovation Foundation has had so far. And I've been lucky to be a part of the journey all these years since 2003. They say innovation is all about doing things differently to make a difference. And that's what Harsh did this year. In fact, Harsh and Amit, they came together and rose to the occasion because we had a big challenge. When the pandemic hit, we had no point of care diagnostics, no therapeutics, no vaccines. 70% of PPEs were imported. Similar was the case with ventilators. So how do you challenge the Indian innovation and say, come on, let's rise to the occasion? So they created this 2.5 crore prize money award. This was something exceptional, by the way, for private sector to do that. That way, grand challenges have been set up previously. I myself remember in 2000, I did this New Millennium Indian Technology Leadership Initiative. But this was the first time a private sector came out with a grand challenge and challenged the innovative minds. And I must say, I was invited to become the chairman of the jury, and it was such a privilege to have a jury with people like Nirmal Ganguly, who are considered as a Bhishma Pitamaha of medical research, and we had the topmost pulmonologists, interventionists, bioethicists, sort of medical equipment manufacturers, and so on and so forth. Response was overwhelming, really. We had 1,500 intents and then 600 actual applications, and from which finally, after almost 2.5 months of hard work, we selected 6 winners. I'm just going to talk about the ventilators part of it. In fact, if you look at the 3 winners that we had in ventilators, one was Shreyas Electro Medicals, the other one was KPIT Technologies, and third was Noka Robotics. Absolutely world class, absolutely outstanding. And the beauty was none of them were in the ventilator business. Like, for example, Noka, it was an IIT startup in robotics. You look at KPIT, they were in software services. But you know, their heart was in the right place. And they said, we must do something and rise to the occasion. And their social commitment made them do that. The second feature was that they all belong to what I like to call as innovation with affordable excellence. Innovation is Indian innovation, but India-centric innovation. Let me explain that. All 3. First is affordable excellence. You will say, oh, what is affordable can't be excellent, what is excellent can't be affordable. No. Affordably, they created excellence of world class. Take Shreyas, for example. Their ventilators have advanced features on par with the high-end imported ventilators. So it is excellence, but affordable because the cost is just 20% of those expensive imported ventilators. The other thing is innovation, that is India-centric. I was reading Times of India this morning. Here it is. And what it says is large hospitals brace for surge from oxygen-starved hubs. And in fact, it says some 60 to 70 hospitals out of 128 treating COVID patients have had to stop admissions due to oxygen shortages. This is India for you. This will not happen abroad. So here is the solution. Noka, for example, they have a turbine-based ventilator that eliminates the requirement of any compressed medical air, which requires all that sort of infrastructure, just made for the Indian condition. That's what I meant by innovation. And they deal with so many other problems. You know, we have no electricity in villages, electrical breakdowns even in cities, suddenly power cutoffs, and then trained manpower, lack of it. Now they have been designed, like for example, Shreyas, you know, the automatic ventilator can run itself without any technical person basically attending. So just looking at Indian conditions. You look at KPIT, for example, what they have done is that it meets all 6 topmost international specifications. So that is excellence. Cost just 75,000 rupees. And it can be used in remote medical facilities, in ambulances, in home care, and so on and so forth. So we are extremely proud. That's what I said. It is innovation with affordable excellence. Now, we talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat, and of course, one says made in India, but I always said not made in India as assembled in India, but invented in India. These are all made in India and invented in India. And as the Prime Minister has said, made in India, but for the world, and export possibilities, like KPIT. They have an order for 800 already. And you can see some of the other ones will have the same sort of features. So I think they're really outstanding with us. And finally, let me talk about going beyond the grand challenges. Innovate to beat COVID, that was the grand challenge. The word about the other award winners. And again, same, innovation with affordable excellence. For example, you look at this innovation, the arm voice prosthesis. Okay, so when you have these unfortunate throat cancer and you do the laryngotomy, you are unable to speak, basically. And this arm voice prosthesis is just priced at less than $1. Can you just imagine? Otherwise, you have to spend 25,000, 30,000 rupees. Look at Augusta, for example. It is world's smallest, most intelligent medical grade 12-lead portable ECG device. You can keep it in your pocket and very accurate like the ECG device. Costs just 2,500 rupees, but cost per ECG is just sort of 5 rupees. Affordable excellence, just made for Indian conditions. And finally, Bandicoot is another award winner. Manual scavenging has been a curse on India. In fact, as you know, young people, they don't even live up to 30 years. In fact, the Supreme Court last year had, really used very strong words. They say sewers are gas chambers where manual scavengers are sent to die. And here are these young people who come out, and their basic thesis is manhole is a bad term. How can you talk about a man in the hole? You have to talk about machine in the hole. And the man can operate the machine. And that's what they have done. For example, the robots that they have done, they call it sort of Bandicoot, does that particular job. And then you will say what happens to the employment of those people whose livelihood depends upon manual scavenging. No. What they do is that they train them in operating those robots. Can you just imagine? From manual scavenger, they become robot operators, and their dignity in the society sort of goes up. So this is social transformation. And I'm very happy to say this was given the Anjali Mashalkar Award last November, and they have been in the news. And actually what has happened is that this technology actually got discussed in sort of a committee, etc. And of course, the government was already on the job, and you can see now that in this monsoon session, there will be a bill on prohibition of employment of manual scavengers and their rehabilitation. That is the 2020 bill that is going to come up. So when I say science, technology, and innovation, science must solve, technology must transform, and innovation must impact. I think this is actually a brilliant example. So just to conclude, I would say this is a great evening where we at Marico Innovation Foundation proudly celebrate innovation with affordable excellence. We proudly celebrate Make in India, but for the world. And we proudly celebrate a truly inclusive innovation with an amazing combination of innovation, compassion, and passion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mashalkar, for sharing your thoughts with us. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to turn the spotlight to the highly awaited, much anticipated MIF Innovation for India Awards. Let's put the spotlight on the first category of awards here today. It's the category of business innovation, and the winner is Innovation. For a second, I want you to think about this. What if you lost your voice to throat cancer, and there was a medical device out there that could help you reclaim your voice? What if this device didn't break the bank and was actually affordable? They say most dreams begin with what if, and it was no different for Dr. Vishal Rao, the inventor of the Owing voice prosthesis Innovation medical devices. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Vishal Rao.
Namaste and a very good evening to all of you. My friends, I would like to place a request before all of you. Please turn to the person sitting to your left or to your right and try and introduce yourself. tell them your name, where do you come from. But in doing so, try doing it without speaking, without uttering a word. Yes, you can imagine how difficult it is. This is what thousands of patients across the world go through when they lose their voice box to advanced throat cancer. Unfortunately for these throat cancer patients, they breathe through a hole in the throat. Think of it for a second. Take a good deep breath and you'll realize what a gift we have been bestowed with, and these patients don't have it. They breathe through a hole in the throat. They cannot enjoy the fragrance of a coffee or that of a perfume. In Bangalore, years later, I came across a coolie, a worker who hadn't spoken for years together, and he kept explaining about his desire to speak. Now, the reason why he was not able to speak was that there are two prosthetic devices available across the world, the European mix and the American mix, and the patients were not able to afford it. Laborers, coolies, drivers, they were not able to afford it because their cost would be somewhere around 35,000 Indian rupees only for the machine, and that would require replacement every 6 months and the costs of additional insertions and other things extra. So these patients would remain in silence. This kind of stimulated my thinking towards a larger purpose of what I could do to elevate their suffering and make a small difference in their life and touch their lives. So in the next coming years, I spent time trying to look at what we could do, and that's when my dear friend Shashank joined me in this endeavor. Shashank is a silicon expert, and both of us joined together for the next couple of years to work towards making a voice prosthesis that we believed would be accessible, affordable, and affable. And the reason why we wanted to do this was we believed that speech and communication in our society is not only a basic tenet that sustains life force, but is also a right to freedom, peace, justice, and dignity. It is only because of costs that these patients were not able to speak. So we believed that speech is a right and not a privilege, and that every person had the right to speak. So over the next 2 years, we actually worked with the best of experts. We imported platinum cured medical grade silicon from Germany, and we spent our time with material experts, physicists and others to create the Owing voice prosthesis. I remember when our first patient who used the Owing prosthesis spoke, he was a security guard. His only desire was to break the silence and go to his daughter's wedding, be on the stage and interact with people. When he first spoke, he said the words Om Namah Shivaya. And that is when we thought Om was a sound of silence. Om was a sound of creation. And it denoted something in this patient who broke the sound of silence. So that's when we called this prosthesis Om. Today, we have within us Mr. Sudhindra Bhandarkar, one of my very dear patients, who is speaking with the Owing voice prosthesis, and he will be speaking to you now about his experience with Owing.
मेरा नाम सुरेंद्र भंडारकर है। मैं ओरिजिनली फ्रॉम मैंगलोर, इधर आके सेटल हो गया। 3 साल का पहले मेरे को कैंसर आया था। मैं डॉक्टर विशाल सर का पास आया। उन्होंने ऑपरेट करने के बाद अभी थोड़ा बहुत अच्छा बात करता हूँ। कस्टमर सभी मेरे से बात करता है। पहले मेरे को बात करने के लिए नहीं होता था, अभी बेटर 70% बेटर हो गए।
Now, in the next coming days, we were faced with another intriguing problem. We were not able to create an effective inserter to do replacements of these prostheses in the OPD itself. That would save time and money for these patients. At this juncture, something very strange happened to me. It was one of those evenings that my wife called me out for shopping. You see, I had a philosophical divide with my wife on shopping because she goes to pick up what she wants and I go to figure out what I want. But she insisted that I join her, so me and my 3-year-old joined her in this program, and we were there in the shop moving around. At that juncture, my son was running all helter-skelter trying to throw some boxes, and I was trying to pick them and put them back to the shelf when I actually bumped across a box of tampons on the floor which my son had thrown, and I stared into it. That was my voila moment, a eureka moment for me. I thought to myself that this tampon boxes is exactly what I was looking for to be the prototypes for my inserters. These are not medical devices, they are available off the shelf and they're being used every day. Why not look at a simpler model like this for our insertions? Now thereafter, we continue to pursue this innovation, and the biggest learning we had in this was the power of lateral thinking, the power of uncommon collaborations. And today I want to reiterate the fact that this has been the principle to us on which we have been working on copy left, not copyright, where we are actually trying to share ideas to make this world a better place. So today we've created the Owing voice chain, which is trying to take the Owing voice prosthesis to the poorest of the poor countries where there is no access to healthcare. And our aim here is not only to rehabilitate voice, but to rehabilitate their lives, to help them reclaim their lives. With this endeavor, we are trying to reach out to more than 188 countries, and I request all of you here to come and join us and be a part of the Owing voice chain to make a difference to their lives. We are now reaching out to more than 188 countries and to the United Nations to recognize laryngectomy as a voice handicap and help rehabilitate their lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vishal. Your journey to innovation just put a smile on my face, reaffirming what we often hear: you just don't know how and when that aha moment will strike. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's turn our attention to the next category of awards. We have two winners in this category, the category of Startup Innovation. And the first winner here today is Gen Robotic Innovations. Gen Robotics brings you a high-tech robot that truly uplifts the lives of our manual scavengers, our unsung heroes, giving them a more dignified way of earning a living. So to join us here today, we have Mr. Rashid K, co-founder and director, Gen Robotic Innovations.
Imagine a job where after a long day's work, your family refuses to hug you when you enter your home, or even refuse to eat with you. Quite a picture, isn't it? What could be worse? Now imagine a job that could kill you within 10 minutes of starting work. Worse, isn't it? These are not different jobs that I'm talking about. Neither are these imaginary jobs. This is the reality that many manual scavengers face every day. While doing my graduation, me and my friends came to read an article that would be the birth of an idea. The article was titled, "Braveheart Kozhikode Auto Driver Dies After Jumping into the Sewer to Rescue Sewage Workers." The two sewage workers died as well. The newspaper heading shook all four of us, and we collectively decided that we will develop a technology that completely eliminates manual scavenging from our society. We started collecting data at the grassroots level, and what we found was shocking, much more than the article we read. 110 workers were killed last year alone while cleaning sewers, and these are just reported numbers. Manual scavenging takes one life every 5 days in our country. Manual scavenging is strictly prohibited by the Supreme Court of India and is a punishable offense. If you're thinking that these numbers are quite less, then let me tell you that the harsh reality runs deeper than these reported numbers. Manual scavengers sedate themselves with the packets of gutka and drink lots of cheap country liquor before entering the toxic manhole. The stench, as you can imagine, is unbearable inside the manhole. To avoid one plague, they fall prey to another substance abuse. After understanding all this, we decided that only one way to help manual scavengers was to remove the human intervention in the manhole cleaning process. All four of us quit our jobs, registered Gen Robotics Private Limited Company. And our passion towards robotics motivated us to take this project with the help of Kerala's startup mission. We wanted to develop a robot that would go into the unseen depth of manholes, unclog them, scoop out the debris, indicate the intensity of poisonous gases in the manhole, use machine to work even at night, and most importantly, not take away the jobs of these manual scavengers that we wanted to help. After extensive research and development and several prototypes, we created exactly that. A robot that can work exactly like a human inside manhole. The first Bandicoot robot. I'm proud to announce that the first of its kind robot in the world for cleaning manholes without any human intervention is from India. A pure made in India innovation. Bandicoot robots completes cleaning within 20 minutes, which would take 3 hours with 3 to 4 persons manually. With the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning with the help of Google experts, we have reduced the training time for our product. Now it takes only 2 hours to train a scavenger to make him an operator. We have installed more than 40 bandicoots across 10 Indian states and pulled out tons of sewage waste. Thousands of manual scavengers have participated in our rehabilitation program to become trained operators. We are getting high requirements to install more bandicoots across India, and we have collaborated with the BRAL, the arm of Tata Motors, to manufacture bandicoot robots in large numbers to meet the threefold rise in demand. To benefit the world at large, we have stepped foot into international markets by signing an MOU with the Dubai government. The Bandicoot robot is now also recognized by the Smart City Mission and Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. But most importantly, we have made sure that the family of manual scavengers doesn't refuse to hug them or have dinner with them when they get home. We help them to preserve their dignity, and that's our biggest achievement. Along this journey, we realized that innovation should help the lowest sections of society, where humans risk their life for 2 square meals, and I firmly believe that technology can restore the human dignity and bring social mobility. Let's together build a world free from manual scavenging. Thank you.
Salute Rashid for converting and transforming manhole to robohole. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have one more winner in the category of Startup Innovation, and the award goes to Agatsa. So what is Agatsa? Agatsa is an affordable, pocket-sized ECG device that has been saving lives every single day. And all of this by enabling you to monitor your cardiac health sitting at home. So without further ado, please welcome Neha Rastogi, founder Agatsa Software Private Limited.
Imagine this scenario when your father-in-law just lands in your home, all sweating and feeling heaviness in his chest. You are alone in the house but realize this could be something serious. I remember this scene clearly from my life when my father-in-law suffered a heart attack. Luckily, with timely intervention, his life was saved. As a young working couple, our biggest concern was, what if something happens to him when we are not around? Also, how do we know when to rush him? Is the jaw pain a serious symptom too? Is gastric pain serious too? We had no clue. In India, every year, approximately 4 crore people lose their lives to heart attacks as they don't reach the hospital on time, or they ignore the initial symptoms and wait till it's too late. During a heart attack, to get the best idea of its intensity, an ECG scan should be done within 1 hour, which is called the golden window or the golden hour. After father-in-law's attack, my husband's innovative mind started racing. We wanted to design a device which could help a heart patient take a quick call based on informed decision. Should I rush to the hospital or should I just take a painkiller and take rest at home? It had to be ultra compact and portable so that the patient could carry it everywhere. Also, it should be medical grade and reliable so that it takes the real-time data of heart and can transmit it to the doctor, offering excellent patient-doctor connectivity. Sadly, most of the devices available in the market were either too bulky or costly, intended for only hospital use, or they were inaccurate, cheap devices with no medical grade quality at all. From childhood, I always harbored a dream. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I quickly decided to join him in this research, and we designed Sanket Life with all the features that we wanted. After 3 years of hard work, Sanket Life Beta was ready. It was the size of a car keychain, took vital cardiac data like ECG, could quickly interpret it, transmit it to the doctor, and help reach diagnosis for any cardiac related ailment. Now, we had a first of its kind pocket ECG device which works just by touch, is connected to a mobile phone and can connect you to a doctor instantly. This means ECG could be taken anytime from anywhere and by anyone. But the question in our minds was, now that it's ready, how do we sell it? At this stage, funding and getting investors who believed in our product was also a huge challenge. Most investors saw the device and asked us, what is the go-to-market strategy? Since we both are engineers, mostly coding and building software and electronics products, this term was very new for us. We had no idea about the go-to-market strategy for a pocket-sized, easy-to-use connected ECG device which was first of its kind. The story of our first sale is also quite interesting. Once, while going through some of the online sales leads, I found a person who wanted easy ECG device. As luck would have it, he was a leading cardiologist from South Delhi. He saw our device and got excited, and he felt he could give the device to his patients and his patients could share their ECGs with him whenever they showed any symptoms. He took out his checkbook and wrote out a check of 25,000. He also gave us 10 days to make the changes in the software and deliver the device to his clinic. Taking the check, we came out of his clinic, sat in our car, looked at each other and asked the same question. Did we just make our first sale? Since that day, we also learned a big lesson in entrepreneurship, that happy customers are your biggest influencers, as they will just not help you to improve the product to fit the market needs, but also design the right sales strategy and marketing plan. Having a very small team, we knew we could not meet each and every doctor and sell to them directly. So we thought, why not use the power of technology? We decided to put the device on several e-commerce platforms like Amazon and our own web store. Users across the country, including patients, surgeons, yoga instructors, athletes, and even healthy people who wanted to use it as a preventive measure to monitor heart rate variability, started buying Sanket Life. Sanket Life started getting traction, as did my dream of becoming an entrepreneur. Looking back, a product that we innovated for our personal problem has gone on to save several lives. This makes us proud. Sanket Life could not claim to be a true Indian innovation until it was both designed and manufactured in India. From being a single lead 3D printed ugly looking device to an artificial intelligence enabled 12 lead compact medically approved ECG device, the journey was long and challenging. Starting from a prototype which was so frugal that we had to pack it in cardboard boxes, actually match boxes, to today where we are shipping our devices across the globe. Today, Sanket Life has several users across the world. Sanket Life is saving real lives, and every day we receive stories from users both urban and rural areas who thank us. I'm proud to say that Sanket Life is a truly made in India, made for the world product which solves a universal problem. Our mission is that no life should be lost because somebody could not reach hospital in good time. Thank you so much.
We've truly had some stellar innovations and you can be a part of it. If you want to support any of these innovations through business opportunities or investments, you can connect with us on mif@marico.com. That's mif@marico.com. And now, ladies and gentlemen, before we reveal the grand winners of the Global Game Changers, let's just take a few moments because we have for you someone special whose efforts and vision to transform the development sector deserves special mention. We are talking about the Indian School of Development Management, and their unique pedagogy brings you a fresh managerial cadre of professionals in the social sector. So please join me in welcoming founder and director of the Indian School of Development Management, Mr. Ravi Sridharan.
Good evening, everybody. My life started with an ovarian lottery. An ovarian lottery that gave me the privilege of studying at an IIT, an IIM, and then a banking career with an MNC bank across 50 countries spanning 25 years. But it was this thought of that ovarian lottery that eventually got me to switch to the social sector. So 10 years ago, I came back to India and joined one of the biggest institutions working in education in the country. During those 4 years, I got to work across the length and breadth of this country. Traveling to some of the deepest corners, I got to see thousands of amazing people and organizations doing amazing work in making the world a better place for the least privileged and the most downtrodden. What became obvious to us was that this sector has a serious lack of leadership and management talent. Management talent that can design interventions and build organizations to create and sustain impact at population scale. All of you know, through top institutions like the IIMs, India has produced a cadre of business management professionals who've built a reputation for leading and scaling large businesses, not only in India, but globally. Imagine if we could build a world-class institute of management dedicated to the social sector. A cadre of development management professionals who go on to lead and scale the impact of social purpose organizations and pull out millions from poverty, depravity, and abuse. With this in mind, along with Gaurav Shah and Suparna Divakar, who were my colleagues at that time, as well as a friend from my IIM days, Sharad Agarwal, we set off to make this vision a reality and build the Indian School of Development Management, or ISDM as it's better known. So we imagined a program that draws on principles of development, principles of management, built on a bedrock of universal human values and ethics. We imagined a program that attracts bright youngsters to prepare and build impactful careers in the social sector. We imagined an institution that becomes a fountainhead of knowledge, developing the theories and frameworks for leading and managing social purpose organizations. And we imagined a cohort of passionate and capable leaders who will do for the social sector what the MBAs did for the world of business. And the Indian School of Development Management was born in January 2016, a first of its kind institution in the world that's dedicated to the social sector. There is no institution in the world that is dedicated to developing the domain of development management and working on the whole ecosystem of development management. Before we embarked on setting up ISDM, we talked to many experienced people and great minds in the country. The overwhelming feedback was that this is a crucial need. and it can have a multiplier impact on the billions of dollars that are spent on social change year after year. To give you a sense of those numbers, the private money spent on social change annually is rupees 80,000 crores. Add to that another 200,000 crores the government spends. While we hope that the work we are doing and development management will significantly multiply the impact of all this money that's being spent, even if it has a 1% improvement, that's a mind-boggling 2,800 crores of impact. Just to put that in context, the annual cost of ISDM is less than 10 crores a year. Imagine building the Harvard of development management in India. We have all it takes to do so. Besides the proof of concept which ISDM has done so far, we have the most complex context and laboratory in India. We have immense intellectual, social and economic capital in India to build the world's best institution right here. Coming to the students of ISDM, who are really the jewels in our crown, we have graduated 200 students over 3 batches, and every one of them is working in the social sector. We have students working at a range of social purpose organizations, from grassroots organizations to check writing organizations, and from think tanks to implementing organizations. We also have students working in numerous government agencies across the country. And indeed, we have students who have chosen to become entrepreneurs. We have Swati, who has set up a domestic waste management company in Meerut. We have Vayona and Inder, who have set up Grey Shades, an organization working on empowering and making the lives of old people more meaningful. And we have Veda, who's working on Weaver Collectives in Telangana. When we started ISDM, we were no ones from nowhere, with no resources to consider building a world-class institution. However, at every step in our journey, it's amazing how many times the world has conspired to make things happen for us. This reminds me of Shah Rukh Khan's famous dialogue where he said, "अगर किसी चीज को दिल से चाहो, तो पूरी कायनात उसे तुमसे मिलाने की कोशिश में लग जाती है." Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi. ISDM is doing such great work that our jury believed they deserve special mention. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the grand finale, our grand winners, our global game changers. Back in 2010, they were here on this platform, recognized for their social innovation. And here they are, back again, being honored as global game changers. In these 10 years, we've witnessed their scale and the impact created by this organization. I'm talking about Goonj. Please welcome Mr. Anshu Gupta, founder and director Goonj, someone who's popularly known as the Clothing Man, to share this inspiring journey with us.
Namaskar and Jai Hind. It's been 2 decades of this work which we started on a very, very basic issue of clothing. And the whole idea, to be honest, was that how do you really take care of some of the basic, absolute ignored issues, and in our language we call it non-issue. If I go back to the issue of clothing or the non-issue of clothing just in a minute, and I can tell you that when you talk about 3 basic needs of humankind, you say roti, kapda, makan, food, cloth and shelter. But what we later notice, out of 150 issues, literally from domestic violence to global warming, and now obviously the COVID and the displacement added in a much, much bigger way, you will never find clothing written as a subject. So first, the visible sign of poverty has never been a subject of development. And most importantly, when we started, the whole idea was that why do we actually wait for a human made or for a natural disaster? Because at the end of the day, poverty is one of the biggest ongoing disaster, and half the world actually does not need a disaster. And post-COVID, the situation has certainly become worse. across the globe, not only in India. And I remember my interaction with the family of the dead body pickers who used to pick up these unclaimed dead bodies on the roads of Old Delhi, and how the little daughter of that family actually literally shook me when she said that when I feel cold, I hug the dead body and sleep. And I couldn't understand, I couldn't relate, but I think that was the journey, that was the starting of a journey rather, which is in the direction of non-issues, in the direction of certain things which are taken for granted. And in our work, we also realize that one of the important things which is taken for granted is actually dignity. Charity takes away dignity of people, and without dignity, you cannot talk about any development. 98 informally, 99 informally, we just started working on something called clothing, and the urban discard, which is a pain for people, and it's very easy to call anything second-hand which we give to people a donation. And we wanted to challenge that entire thought process. We said that if you are giving old clothes, utensil, footwear, whatever, and you're calling it a donation, to be honest, that's the wrong thing to do, because anything which we've already used for a year or two, with what right do we call it a donation? It's actually, we are giving it. It is a discard for us now, and we are giving it. And we rather need to be thankful to the people who are using our second-hand material, because they give a second life to something on which we spend our hard-earned money, and we are very emotionally attached. And then the other major issue for us was that how do we really keep the dignity intact? How do we make the giving dignified? So in a very simple model, almost 6,000 tons, which is about 6 million kgs now, material is collected, cloth, utensil, footwear to door, windows or whatever. It goes through a very rigorous process of matching the needs of people, because one of the biggest problem with donation mindset is that you give what you have, you don't give what people need. And we have to wear the lenses of people for whom we are trying to work. I think that's what we just tried to do in our work. So this entire material in very beautifully made family kits and various other kits goes to the people, especially in rural India. And rural India is basically using its own lenses, its own language. They find out what is the problem which is bothering them. So a village says that village well needs to be repaired. The other one says a water body needs to be repaired. Someone says the road needs to be made. And this is how these almost 7,000 such projects are taken up in parts of rural India, as remote as possible, as tribal as possible, faraway places, disaster prone areas. So people use their own wisdom, people use their own resources, work on the issues which are heart pressing for them, and then with a lot of dignity, with a lot of respect, they receive this material. So what has happened in the last 2 decades? A, the giving is dignified. B, the barter economy is revived with 2 new currencies. On one part, it is the urban discard or the underutilized material, and on the other part, it is the rural wisdom and rural resources, and obviously the rural workforce. So it is basically the genesis of an alternate or an additional or a parallel economy, which is not just cash based but also trash based. We have also focused in changing the language. I mean, we do not want to use the word beneficiary and donors. We need to treat people as a stakeholder. This is what we've been saying, that the people who made house for us remained homeless, and the people who have been growing rice for us, in our data everywhere we start calling them beneficiary, without understanding that I am a constant beneficiary of someone who has made house for me, and I'm a constant beneficiary of someone who has been growing rice for me. So I'm just hoping that this particular virus will make a dent on our thought process. We will come out of this arrogance of knowing everything. We will start calling farmer a skilled person, and not only the people who do innovation on papers, or people like us who wear good clothes and have access to best possible and have access to best possible universities and a lot of other people. And I really appreciate that this recognition has happened exactly at the right time. because this is one absolutely replicable model. This is one model which needs to be copied, and then it needs to be localized anywhere in the world. And in every economy it can work. Maybe the scale might be different. If a model has experimented a lot in this country, I am pretty sure that many other nations can certainly take it up in a big way. Thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you, Anshu. Your passion flows through your words and your efforts truly echo what India needs today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, last but not the least, the final winner in the category of the Global Game Changer. The winner is the Olympic Gold Quest. Over the course of the next half an hour or so, you're going to have a very special conversation unfolding that will explore the DNA of the Olympic Gold Quest and what it really takes to support, scout, nurture Indian athletes on their quest to seek the Olympic gold medal for our country, for India. I'm going to hand over the platform now to Mr. Amit Chandra, who will engage in a riveting conversation with some truly special guests. We have Marico, Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna Awardee, Padma Vibhushan, Padma Bhushan and Padma Shri Awardee, Olympic medal winner and Member of Parliament. Also on the special panel is Geet Sethi, 9 times World Q Sports champion, Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna Awardee and co-founder of Olympic Gold Quest. Mr. Viren Rasquina, former Indian hockey captain, Olympian, Arjuna Awardee and CEO of Olympic Gold Quest. My dear friends, we have our sporting superheroes, so to speak, who underscore the spirit of innovation and the spirit of entrepreneurship.
This is truly a fanboy moment for me, so I'm naturally very nervous. So please excuse me if I make any mistakes as we go along. It couldn't have been a happier jury decision for me that OGQ has been selected with MIF's Global Game Changer Award. And it's not just because OGQ accounted for 5 of India's 8 Olympic medals in the last 8 years, and a very large percentage of those in the Asian Games, in the Commonwealth Games, and in the World Championships for various sports. But it is really because OGQ has proven that what is impossible is possible, but that what it requires is a long-term vision, very talented people like the ones before you come together to meticulously execute it, lots of patience to deal with ups and downs, and a very serious focus on impact. Through this conversation today, we hope to give everyone who's watching a flavor that we Indians can do anything if we set our minds to it. So let us now dive into this conversation with our superstars and learn the art of impossible. In section 1 of this conversation, I'm actually going to go back to the birth of an idea with the father of it himself, Geet Sethi, a legend in Indian sport. Geet, you were really cruising along in your career, and post that you could have planned to happily retire or played the role of a coach or a commentator, but something happened and you got the bug to start Olympic Gold Quest. Can you take us back to the moment when this all happened and also tell us a little bit about the opportunities? Geet, over to you.
So yeah, the year was 1998 and I was already a 3 or 4 time world champion. And like you said, Amit, was cruising along, happily. And then billiards got included into the Asian Games. And for the first time in 1998 in Bangkok, I became part of the Indian contingent, the Olympic contingent. And when I landed in Bangkok, it suddenly struck me, I was a professional player playing professional sport, not really in tune and linked with the Olympic movement. But it struck me how inefficient we were at that stage. I'm talking about 1998. And what I think the key thing, what I took back from Bangkok 1998 was the fact that the athlete was not the stakeholder. Decisions were being taken, to please and appease people other than the sports person. And that kind of rattled me. I wrote a lot. I criticized, establishment. That I said, what can we do? We have to improve the lot. They are so talented, these athletes. And just because of a lack of preparation, or because of a lack of equipment, or because of a lack of just timeliness in their preparation, they are unable to achieve their potential. And I said, I had criticized establishment enough. I said, enough of criticizing. Can we not do something? So and can we not start an organization where we can kind of put in, inputs which can benefit the athlete? And I immediately landed in India, went and met Prakash Padukone, and both of us said, let's do something. We agreed. And in 2001, we launched Olympic Gold Quest. And it was 7 years before I got my first funding, Amit. 7 long years. And it was not that we didn't try. We tried a lot. But perhaps the time was not right. People still didn't fancy Indian sport the way they fancied, other Indian, mass adulation sport like cricket. But in 2007, I got a break. And you know the gentleman, Shitin Desai, I was in his office trying to explain this whole concept. He's such a distracted man. And I thought, gosh, here's one more attempt. And it's going to bear no fruit. And I said, okay, Shitin bhai, thank you for your time. I'm leaving. And he immediately focused and he said, what do you need? I said, I need money. Do you have an athlete? Yes, I have an athlete. There is an athlete called Gagan Narang. And, he just gave me a check of 25 lakhs. The very next day, we got another check of 25 lakhs from Ramraj and we were off. And I think that is the launch of Olympic Gold Quest. And soon we came across, Viren, who had finished his ISB. He was traveling for a corporate job. Prakash and I grabbed him and we said, no, don't go. You have, there's so much you have to offer to Indian sport. Come and build this organization. And the rest, I think, as they say, is history, Amit.
What a fascinating story, Geet. There's so many lessons in that, for us, both in the corporate world as well as I do a lot of work in the social sector as well. I think there are lessons for us across startups, businesses, that if we're really passionate about a problem, we can ultimately try to crack it. We need to, keep at it and keep pecking away, chipping away before we can get to success. And often it's unpredictable. We don't need to really, give up. And often, it's only after a very long road that you eventually, get to success. I want to move now to another, phase of OGQ's journey. Viren, I've had the exposure both to the world of business and the social sector. And I can tell you, we see a lot of terrific ideas, amazing passion, but translating that into great results requires meticulous planning and great execution. And so as I turn to you, I'd like you to test in the vision that Geet, Prakash and the board have had, so that all of us Indians are able to hold their head high when we compete at international level.
Yes, Amit. For me, actually, Geet calls it grabbing me, but honestly, in my field, when Geet Sethi and Prakash Padukone request you to be part of an organization that they started, you just don't say no to sports legends. I played at the 2004 Athens Olympics, and it was an 8-year-long journey for me. And in the end, we missed an Olympic medal by a fraction. And it hurt me a lot. And OGQ, in a way, was a platform for me to help the next generation of athletes and to ensure that the same mistakes were not repeated. And I thought that when I joined OGQ, it was a no-brainer. But I think the most important thing was focus. We actually analyzed the last 5 Olympics prior to that, and we saw that the top 30 nations in the medal table won almost 80% of their medals from just 4 sports, which meant the lesson here was to win Olympic medals, you have to focus, focus, focus. We researched them very deeply, and then we narrowed down on 5 sports: badminton, boxing, shooting, archery, and wrestling. These are the sports which we felt India had the best chance of winning Olympic medals. There were almost 90 Olympic medals up for grabs. If you look at the last 2 Olympics, they just won 6 in London and 2 at Rio. So much work to do just in these 5 sports. Incidentally, India qualifies for the Olympics in 15 sports. The next thing we needed to really work on was the selection process. We made it extremely merit oriented, very rigorous. We invest a lot of time, effort, resources in selection, because like a PV Sindhu, we started supporting Sindhu when she was 14 years old. No one knew her name at that time. And it was a 7-year long journey with lots of ups and downs before she finally won an Olympic medal at 21 years old. Today, we support 200 athletes, almost 110 and the age group of 11 to 19 years old. We're already preparing them for the 2024 and 2028 Olympics. And we have to invest in research in the selection process. Otherwise, they will not reach the Olympics. The third we worked on was sustained fundraising, trying to ensure there's long-term commitment, because you don't build Olympic champions overnight. A joke is there that you put effort and train for 10 long years before you become an overnight success in sport. And the last but not the least is just building the right team. If we expect our athletes to go out there and win Olympic medals, then everyone working behind the scenes, the coach, trainer, physio, nutritionist, mental trainer, everyone has to be world class. If we get 1% better in coaching, 1% better in equipment, 1% better in infrastructure, in nutrition, in recovery, cumulatively we're talking about 6-7% better. That's the difference between participating and actually winning an Olympic medal. And for me, the best part of the journey, one of my best memories, is actually Marico herself, because there were so many challenges when she won the Olympic medal in 2012. In that 3 years from 2009 to 2012, Mary went up 2 weight categories, from 46 kgs to 48 to 51, which her Olympics weight category was in. Never in the history had a boxer in a lower weight category gone up and won an Olympic medal, and Mary did it. And there were so many things that went on behind the scene, from coaches to sparring partners. But if it was not for her courage, her guts, her ability to overcome every challenge that life threw at her, I mean, there's no one more inspirational than Mary. And all of us had cried buckets of tears when she actually won her Olympic medal.
Mary, everyone has been patiently waiting to hear from you. And so I'm actually going to turn to you now. I've had the pleasure of listening to you many, many times, and you've talked very fondly about how OGQ has cared about you like a family. And I want you to talk about why you feel that OGQ has done for you what it has, and why it's so important for it to do that for other sports people as well. Mary, over to you.
OGQ has, support me since 2009 until now. I should say they are my family, and any needs, any input, any help, once I call, or if I inform anything needs help, and they immediately arrange it, everything within today itself. If I call, for example, if I call today, they are trying to arrange today itself. If not possible, then by tomorrow they can arrange everything, whatever I need and help requirement, especially for my training. I don't have any physio, I don't have a good course. They immediately arrange for me and providing me actually. So that's the way actually I was so happy because I need I need I need whatever to improve myself. So OGQ has done so many things. OGQ is one of I can say like they are everything for me. Uh, yes, my family also they have support me, but my family is secondary actually. OGQ in my field. Without OGQ, I could not, I will not able to perform. I'm so happy. I'm so glad to have OGQ in my life.
Mary,
Thank you.
You are as generous with your words as you're strong with your punches.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Mary. The world is truly struggling with issues of inclusion, be it gender equality, inclusion of economic strata, caste, religion, or even disability. So in the next session, what I'd like to do, Geet and Viren, is talk about another unique facet of OGQ's success, which is, OGQ has not compromised. In fact, it's built a lot of its success with inclusion as a unique dimension of it. And you're actually a beacon to the rest of the country and indeed the world on how inclusion should be a core part of one's values. Geet, let me start with you. If you could maybe talk about one pillar of your approach, and then Viren, you could maybe talk a couple of others. So, Geet, over to you.
So yeah, Amit, I think you're right. Inclusion is an important part of the world today, and encompass inclusion in a very, very active manner. When it comes to OGQ, it's not that we kind of are choosing athletes on the basis of inclusion. No, it just so happens for us that most of our talent is coming from Mufassal areas. Most of our talent are coming from the northeast, small villages in Haryana, small villages in Uttarakhand. And as a team and as an organization, we say wherever an athlete comes from, it is our job, to support them. Gender inclusion, demographic inclusion, financial, economic inclusion, social inclusion, everything. It doesn't matter for us. I'll give you the example. And I think the heartening thing is, like I mentioned, our athletes have this deep desire and hunger, and they're coming up from all kinds of areas, not from the cities necessarily. So I'll give you the example of Deepak Punia. We started supporting him when he was 16 years old. He comes from a small village in Haryana in district Chhajar, and we got a foreign coach from Georgia for him. He's a wrestler in the 86 kilogram category. And for the last 4 years, he's being coached by this, this coach from Georgia, an international coach. And we've been supporting him since he was 16. Last year, he won the junior gold in the World Championship. In the Junior World Championship, he won a gold. And then shortly afterwards, in the Senior Championship, he won a silver, on the basis of which he has qualified for the Tokyo Olympics. Now, what a story. And his father's a milkman. His father's a milkman.
It's amazing. It's heartwarming, Geet. Importantly, as you point out, you're actually enabling things to happen in underserved areas. And I think that's what addressing the issue of inequity means. Viren, would you like to talk about other aspects of OGQ and how the inclusion agenda has been furthered?
Yeah, absolutely, Amit. I think I would like to touch upon the aspect of gender equality over here. I don't know whether our listeners out there know that, but the International Olympic Committee has now come up with a rule that the Tokyo Olympics, by the way, will be the first Olympics ever in over a century of the Olympics that 50% of the participants will be male and 50% female. So equal for the first time. And currently, of the about 200 athletes supported by OGQ, around 40% of our athletes are female. And that number's only good, the percentage is just going up every year. And this is purely on merit, not for a conscious decision that we are taking to support girls more. It's just purely on merit. And I've seen it from my own experience that if girls especially are given a level playing field, equal opportunity, the best possible support, I think they are far more talented and far more resilient than men. They have the mental and the psychological ability to handle pressure and make the right decisions when it really matters. And mark my words, at the Tokyo Olympics and going forward, female athletes will win 80% of the medals that India wins at the Olympics. I want to give the example, of course, Marico is in front of us, Saina Nehwal, PV Sindhu, Mirabai Chanu, she's a weightlifter, like Mary, she hails from Manipur. She grew up lifting firewood to earn money at home. Today, she's in the top 3 in the world in her category in weightlifting. She's lifting over 115 kgs over her head. That's Amit Chandra and Virendra Askina put together. So, and she's in the 49 kg weight category. So, incredible stories, and it's just about giving her the right platform, the right opportunity. And there are so many Mirabai Chanus out there. We have to go and find them, and it's our duty and responsibility to give them the right platform. I also want to talk about Paralympics. In the last 1 year, OGQ took a call to support para-athletes. Today, we support 22 of the most talented para-athletes. It's been such a humbling and inspiring experience, Amit. They have physical disabilities. Many of them have amputated upper limbs, amputated lower limbs. Many of them are on wheelchairs. One guy is an ex-army man. His name is Prem Kumar Ale. He's a para badminton player on a wheelchair. He lost the use of his limbs because he stepped on a landmine in the line of duty. And when I watch Prem train every single day, there's a smile on his face. There's a intensity in his heart to prove himself despite his disability. And that courage, that fire, that hunger to prove themselves despite everything is what pushes us to give them the best possible support.
I must say I'm deeply, deeply grateful to what OGQ does to push the inclusion agenda, because when you do this, you're actually setting such an amazing example for the rest of India to follow, because you're really enabling all kind of people who wouldn't otherwise had the opportunity to rise to their full potential. And I think that is what addressing the issue of inequity really means. I will now want to move back to Viren and Geet to talk about the impact that OGQ has delivered. It's truly been a phenomenal story. And so as we wrap up this discussion, Geet, I want you to first start off by looking back at the last decade or so and reflect on the achievements of the organization.
I'd like to believe, Amit, that OGQ has perhaps been a catalyst in the sporting Indian scene, a catalyst who has actually instilled a subconscious and conscious belief in our Indian sporting athletes. 20 years back, it used to be a great honor to represent the country. Whilst it remains a great honor to represent the country, the athlete who goes to the Olympics is not happy just representing the country. The athlete is happy only when he or she comes back with a medal. So I think, in enabling a few athletes to achieve this Olympic dream, we have actually instilled this confidence in the entire sporting community that we are going to the Olympics to win. I think another area which in the last 10 years perhaps if we can take a little credit for, is the fact that we are no longer criticizers, we are enablers, and we, I think, have somehow managed to work in tandem with federations, with government, with Sports Authority of India, to see that the athlete becomes the number one stakeholder. There's a definite shift in that attitude of establishment, and hats off to the establishment for opening up their purse strings, hats off to government, to Sports Authority of India, to the, to various other organizations like OGQ. There are other organizations who are doing so much good work. And I believe we have got, or all of us have come together to have this wonderful sporting environment where the athlete is of paramount importance. Everything else, just we have to work in the background, and the athlete has to be the star. I think that is what the impact perhaps we have managed to make.
I think it's truly phenomenal, and I think the results in terms of all the medals, not just in Olympics and Asian Games and the World Championships, but I think also importantly the pipeline in terms of what you have in terms of the young athletes really speaks for itself. Viren, over to you. What are the goals? I know Prakash and Geet and all the other members of your board aren't easy taskmasters. So what does the decade ahead in terms of goals really look like?
Yeah, before I go to a quick point on the goals, maybe I'll just add a little to what Geet said on the impact. I feel I totally agree with Geet when there's just one simple quality of self-belief. In 2008 at the Beijing Olympics, 3 Indian athletes won Olympic medals. Abhinav Bindra won gold, the first individual athlete ever to win an Olympic gold medal. But I feel the more impactful medals were Sushil Kumar and Vijender. Sushil won bronze in wrestling, Vijender won bronze in boxing. And, most athletes relate themselves to the same background. And from there on, India had the best performance at the London Olympics, where 6 athletes, including Marico, won Olympic medals. And it's just given so much belief now to millions of kids across the country. When I played in 2004, honestly, if you ask me, deep down, we did not have the belief that we could win. Today's athletes are different, and that belief is intangible. It's hard to measure, but that's a big change in the Indian athlete and really in our society, that we believe that we can match up to the best in the world. So that's, I think, been really important. And another impact is creating role models like Sindhu, like Saina Nehwal, like Marico. I think we underestimate the importance of the role models to inspire kids. I remember I was 14 years old and Dhanraj Pillai once came to my school. The Indian hockey team came to my school ground to play an exhibition match. And I went up after the match and I shook his hands. So he never remembered, obviously, but for me, it was such a big thing to shake Dhanraj Pillai's hands. And 5 years later, I was playing in the Indian hockey team with him. And I told him that one day and he laughed, but it meant so much to me to shake Dhanraj Pillai's hand. So to have role models like Marico, Sindhu and Saina is incredible. In terms of the goal in the next decade, I think we have to look at creating 25 to 30 more Sainas and Sindhus, not just, and Maricoms, not just in Olympic sport, but in Paralympic sport. 90% of our athletes today come from the small towns, tier 2, tier 3 places. Every kid out there must believe that anything is possible. And I think there's nothing better in life than to prove to someone that you can do something that people say that you cannot do. So if we are able to win 25, 30 medals in the 2028 Olympics totally, I think 30 Maricoms would inspire literally 30 million people to take up sport. And sport can teach you lessons that the classroom will never be able to teach you.
That's really powerful, Viren. I know that just about a decade ago, no girl wanted to enter a boxing academy. And today, boxing academies in North India, Northeast, and many other parts of the country, some of them have waiting lists thanks to Marico. As we wrap up the discussion today, I want to end on a flourish and end with Marico. Maricom, you've been boxing now for an amazing 20 years. You actually still look as fresh as you did when you started. Congratulations to you for that. And by the grace of God, I think you've kept the hunger alive. I would have to take a course in running if I was a female boxer and had to be in the ring with you, because the only thing I would want to do is run away. What at this point of time are your aspirations for the decades ahead? What lies ahead for Maricom?
Now my last mission, I should say, my last mission is now is still due, and after all, after this age, I'm still fighting because I was still not satisfied what I have done. So now what I want to say today is, because of OGQ, now I am still strong, and I'm still believe that I could able to do something again till the end. This time I will I could not able to ensure you. I will not ensure you that I will give 110% in the in the upcoming this Olympic for Tokyo. I should say I will give 110%, and I am still strong. That after 35, 36, 37 years, I think I don't think in India we will have, like me or not, that will be a big challenge to other athletes, other girls. I will try my best to give a gold medal for the country. Thank you so much.
Mary, you're such a phenomenal, not just such a phenomenal boxer, but you're such a phenomenal individual and a phenomenal woman. Not just OGQ, I know that over 1 billion Indians are going to be praying and rooting for you. And I can only tell you that we'll all be hoping that this is not your last mission. It may it may be your last boxing mission, but like Geet, who's gone on to do so much more in the world of sport, other than simply playing it, but has gone on to build a movement. I'm sure you have a lot to offer this world than simply in the ring. So God bless you, and God give you strength, and may you continue to be such an inspiration for us, for such a fascinating conversation. And I want to, summarize this conversation by, stepping back and thinking about the phase where we are in. This conversation is so relevant because this initiative shows us that it has become imperative that we can only move forward if we really use innovative approaches, that we be entrepreneurial. What we have really tried to do through Innovation for India Awards is address India's societal problems with innovation, entrepreneurship, and to foster such initiatives like OGQ. India does need to think more deeply and structurally about its problems, and we all have a role to play in this ecosystem. From the bottom of my heart, I want to thank OGQ and each of these superstars behind it for all the amazing lessons for us to take away from what we have heard today. And it's not just for our businesses, but I think for our individual lives as well. I think there were so many things they talked about. And so there were so many lessons every day. I want to thank all of you for joining us for this segment of the awards.
Thank you, Mr. Amit Chandra, for moderating that session. And a big thank you to Maricom, Geet Sethi, and Viren Risquina for joining us here today and sharing these inspiring stories of national pride and resilience. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge congratulations to all of our winners who have really stood tall with their stellar innovations. You can be a part of their journey, their story. If you want to lend your support through business opportunities or investments, all you need to do is connect with us on mif@marico.com. That's mif@marico.com. Thank you for joining us here today and being a part of our endeavor to make innovation mainstream in India. I hope you've been inspired by the innovations and our game changers showcased here today, just as the way we have, igniting a spark within you to explore the infinite possibilities that lie ahead of us. So, that's all from now from me, Neha Serene. Until we meet again, stay safe, stay inspired.